Welcome to another episode of the Bhandwagon Podcast, and today is joining me a guest of kind of nostalgia, really, of a little bit of my uni life going up and in a peak kind of Bhangra phase. He's produced many sort of hits, albums, worked a lot behind the scenes, and some of that information is what I want to get out of today's conversation. Without further ado, welcome, Simon Nandhra.
Hello, how you doing?
Very good. Now, the amount of times that I see you in at the morning drop off, let's say, where the children we drop our kids off, I always have tried to get you onto the podcast at some point, and finally you succumbed to my request. Why was that?
I felt bad, didn't it? It's been 2 years now, isn't it? You've been asking, so I thought might as well let's do it, Hannah, and then we could talk about something else when I see you at least, Hannah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Normally we have a bit of a running commentary of like, oh, what you up to now, who you got in, blah blah blah. Now we'll probably have a fresh conversation, as you mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I think there's lots more topics we can talk about now, isn't it?
That's it. All right, then, Simon. I'm going to ask you a frank question. Where you been?
You know where I've been doing them drop-offs and morning pickups. No, look, to be honest with you, look, I think besides my most recent release, probably about 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, it's been, I think the one before that was 2018, and that was a group project, and 2017 before that, my album. Um, I've just been, you know what? I've been doing a lot of stuff in the studio, working with a lot of different people. I engineer a lot. I still got my 9 to 5 job. I've always had my 9 to 5 job, and I love it. And I've just been busy with that family life. Industry's changed quite a bit a number of years ago, and at that point where I saw that happening, I didn't like what I was seeing at that time. So I decided I was going to focus a little bit less on it, more on family, work, and stuff like that. And I kind of took a back step. So I stopped gigging, touring with other bands and stuff, doing all of that stopped. And now it's become more of a hobby, a bit of a side bit that I do for my getaway. I've been trying to get out of it for years. I've been telling people I need to retire, and I can't stop. Something happens after a couple of months, and it's like, no, you need to do something.
Mm. I want to get. You did say something in there, which I will kind of get to for later on in terms of what was the change in terms of what happened. But
Yeah.
I want to go back to the beginning. You were learning music from the age of 8. What was your instruments and stuff that you got into?
So my very first instrument, I'm not going to say recorder, because we used to learn the recorder in school, right? It wasn't that. I actually learned the clarinet, and I wanted to learn saxophone. I loved saxophone. So when I was really young, I loved, and I still do. I love reggae music and that kind of all that soul and stuff. And I used to put a lot of sax in there. And I was like, yeah, I want to do this. And I went to my teachers in school and I said, I want to learn saxophone. And they go, we don't teach it. And the teacher goes, but if you learn clarinet, you should be able to play saxophone. So that was the very first instrument I started learning. Um, and then what happened was, at that time, my older brother, Nermal, um, he got into music as well. Well, he was already into music, but he started doing a lot more. He actually became a radio presenter first. So he was a radio presenter on Radio Sangam.
So
Uh,
this is an old school kind of West Midlands based
yeah,
radio station for those people who are kind of watching and listening in. Almost kind of I might be dangerous waters here, but almost like a pirate radio station. I'm not sure whether it was fully legit.
yeah, you might be right. I don't know. I don't know. Let's not open that kind of worms anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, so he was doing that, and he was a drummer, and he wanted to be a drummer, and he went and kind of auditioned with bands, and eventually he basically became a sound engineer, and all these bands started coming around to the house, and I used to see them, and I got obsessed with like guitar and the bass guitar. and then I picked up. I think I must have been about 10, maybe 12, and I wanted to learn the bass guitar. And again, it was all around that kind of reggae music as well, because that's what it was all built around. And so I picked that up and I just started, jamming on that. So those were my main two kind of instruments. But I think by the time I was 12, 13, the clarinet went away. It was just like, nah, let's forget that altogether.
Mhm. And then did you go into any kind of like tabla or any of the percussion side of it at all, or was it just straight to keys or nothing of like
Yeah.
folk instruments?
No, so you know what? I didn't get into anything like that, to be honest with you. I think once my mom and dad went to India once and brought me back a tabla, and I must have gone to a couple of tabla lessons, and I said, this is not for me. I still got the tabla actually. I've still got it, and so it's mint condition. It's just sitting here in the studio actually.
So from the clarinet to out of the box your debut kind of album, what was the stages to get to that level? Were you already working with individuals or bands or anything before to go on there? Because it is a bit of a big step to go out. This is time before singles and so forth.
Yeah. So I'll tell you. So obviously I was I was in school and these bands were always coming around, and I was about 15, 16 years old, and my brother was working with the Sahotas at the time, and the other sound engineer with the Sahotas was Purdy Bogle, and Purdy had a recording studio. He's working at one in Wolverhampton, and I was in my final year of school, and it was work experience time. So I went to do work experience in the studio with Purdy Bogle for 2 weeks, and at that point, it blew my mind. I was like, I love this. I want to do this. This is what it's about now. So I'm 16 years old now, and I'm thinking, right, great. I'm going to finish school, and this is what I'm going to start doing. I need to get my head around it and everything. And that, for me, that's where the journey started. And I was like, yeah, I now want to start making music or engineering music and doing it. Prior to that, I would just go with my brother to see bands all the time, and I would just I was just obsessed with music. I just became really like, I was in school, believe it or not. I was 14 and I had long hair. I
What
had my
school was it? What school was this?
I'll tell you after. It's round the corner from us.
That was good.
So I had I had this the gold hoops in one in each ear. I had long hair down to my shoulders. Every Saturday, where people were going out playing with their mates, I'd sneak in with my brother to watch shows. My favorite one, I'd go every other weekend, was I don't know whether you heard a band called UZ. So I'll tell you who this band was, right? So back in the day, there was Excellency, and
Yeah.
Excellency had Dave and Harbhajan. Yeah. So when they split, Dave made a reggae band, and Dave used to do a lot of pub and local gigs, and there used to be people like G Mads used to be the bass player, right? And I used to go. My brother used to be engineering, and I would just be sitting there on a stool, just watching them for hours and hours. And I was like, this is what I want to do. That coupled up with the studio, it was just, that was it. The journey was hitting towards that way. Um, and then that's when I started, because I was meeting all these bands. It was like, yeah, Simon, come along with us, and that's what I started doing. So that's how I kind of got into it.
Okay. I want to break down a couple of things.
Yeah.
So you've been in studio when Sahotas have been recording, is that correct?
So they weren't recording; other
Okay.
people were recording. Yeah.
Okay.
Not
So
me.
which other kind of bands did you come in contact with? And tell me your first impressions of some of those bands that you saw, because the reason why I ask is the first time I saw a proper band where I was old enough to understand what was being said and what was happening. It really threw me back. I didn't like it. I just wanted to get your impressions of when you saw first bands.
So when I first saw the band, so look, I grew up. I saw bands at weddings, didn't I? So it was
Yeah, yeah.
that was the first thing, see all these people growing up. But the difference for me was, not only would I see them at weddings, but then they would be around the house. So, they'd come pick up, everyone would come in a minibus and stuff. So it became like friends, family. They all knew me. They always look out for me as well because they were much older than me, 10, 15 years older than me. So I grew up around these people. But I loved it. It was really, really good. But in the studio when I was there with Purdy, it was all it wasn't any Bhangra. It was all like reggae music and rap music and stuff, all different types of artists coming in, doing it. And I was remember I was there, and the first job he gave me, he goes, "This is a patch bay. This is how it works." And he had me there for hours just patching things around. And then
What does that mean, patching?
so Pat, you have lots of devices in the studio, and you kind of got this. You get like a yeah, I've got one here. I'll show you here. There we go. I'll sit in the studio. So you got like a cable like that.
Yeah.
So you put it in one, which is something's connected into that, and then you push it into something else, and then the sound will come out of there, for example. So it basically it connects the different various things in the studio. So I was getting into all that, then I was really into it. I started learning about mics, what's a condenser mic, what's this mic, what's the difference? And I'd read the books, and, I'd go to classes and stuff and learn about it. And I did that all on weekends and evenings. And then first I was in school, and then uni. And whilst at uni, still doing it. You know that, man, we went to uni.
Yeah, I was good. It's kind of interesting what you said, because I've spoken to Anka about this. So Anka from Brazil and everything, right? Okay, I'll just give him his little crappy shout out from there. You talked about image, and you talked about long hair and everything. One of my biggest memories of yourself at university was your belt, which was this where you had your. I don't think I've told you this.
I don't remember this belt.
You had it. So Simon used to have a belt with his name on his belt, which was just Simon on there, and it was like diamond encrusted. I knew this because I saw it on when we had one of the uni balls at the end of the year, and everyone was in a suit, and I was like, this guy, long hair. I think you might not too long hair. I think he had a barley in as well in your ear, and I was like, this guy is confident.
I don't remember a belt with my name on it, but we're talking a long time ago.
Yeah. I'm sure I've got a picture of this. I'm sure Anka actually sent me a picture of it. Of where it was a group photo.
Let's make sure that never goes on the internet if it is me, but yeah.
So around your image and stuff that you were seeing from there, there was a there was you did have confidence in that side of stuff and that. When you were, how were you able to kind of hold your own, especially in an audience of where you did have different band members coming in?
So one, are we talking after I did my first album, or when are we talking about now?
I mean, it's up to you. Where would you class it as where it's sort of the origin of it?
You know what? I didn't get my confidence, to be honest with you, till about 2004-5, believe it or not. And my first album came out in 2002. So it was I was always the quietish type of guy, I didn't, I never liked, and I still don't like being forefront of anything. And it was only afterwards when I almost was a bit siloed in terms of what I was doing that I was able to build my own confidence, because I've always been surrounded by people that support me. But there was a point when I was starting off, which was great. I had some really, really strong individuals around me, but it was more I was being directed rather than find your own way. And that didn't build my confidence. So I was just kind of following what I thought, yeah, he said it, so he must be right, kind of thing. So it was a bit later on that I got confident. But even as a kid, I was really quiet. You'd never get me on stage. Now, if I go do anything, I want to be center of attention, which is really bad.
Yeah, your videos I've always remembered your videos. You're always very expressive, and you must have got A in drama, because you are a very good actor in that way. So I'll give that. Is
Yeah,
that is that come on?
I don't know how that happened. I mean, look, if I look back to my very first videos, I can't watch my first videos. I absolutely hate them. They're atrocious, right? Yeah, I'm not even in one of the videos. Like, I didn't even at that point. It was like I've got probably one of the biggest record label in the UK launching me, telling me that they're gonna do these videos, and videos weren't a big thing at that time. They were just starting to kick in. I had no idea what should I be wearing, what should I be doing, how's that gonna look. I knew nothing at all, and I went there, and when I see him after, I'm like, do you know what? If I could erase something, it would be those first videos. It was just like, but for me, what that taught it that it taught me such a big learning curve, because after that it was like, you know what, never again. I now need to be in some sort of control.
Mm.
So and that did knock my confidence. That was like, I didn't like it at all, and it was vocalized by a lot of people across. I mean, there wasn't much social media back then, but it was very, very limited what there was, papers and stuff, and what I used to hear wasn't great.
About what the actual video?
Just generally videos, or as an individual. I think during that time, for some reason, and maybe everyone goes through this, there was just not a lot of support for up and coming people that didn't like you, so you used to get knocked down a lot. Um, and
Why
and
did
I
you
got,
think you got knocked down? You too much too soon, or was it just that you were a threat? Because I know there was politics within. I've spoken to Tali when I've done, and he talks. I think almost around about the same time. I don't know whether that's right in terms of your releases, or whether it was slightly before that.
they were a week apart, I
Yeah,
think.
right.
Yeah.
So I'm just going off the top of my head. I think he was where he was saying that it got really difficult to try and book out studio time. You would just see he was seen as a kid or a younger artist. You wouldn't get the preference within that. Was that some of the things that you were getting, or
I've no, I never had anything like that, to be honest with you. I was from a label perspective and everything. I got my studio time. I used to go to independent studios. I had nothing to do with them. It was fine. No issues there whatsoever. I think once the songs came out, I think some of it was, there's no way this guy looking the way he does, being the way he is, has made these songs. That was the first thing. It was almost like, this isn't possible. And then when some of the videos came out, I the Chetty Saravan Puttar, it was just like, what's going on here? And I said, I have no idea what's going on here, because now I say to someone, if you're gonna do my video, I need a script, what's going on, break it down, what are we shooting on, what's the lenses, what's the storyline. We do all that. Then I just turned up and got told what to do, and I was just like, I've got to do it.
mm,
And it was just like, nah. And then when Sadeya came out, I didn't even know there was a video to Sadeya. I was like, "Wait, what?" I was like, "What's going on? How did this come out? I'm not even in the video." And I didn't tell Rakesh to come to the video because I didn't know it was being done. It was just a bit. I don't know what had happened. I mean, it's great there was a video, but it was like, why wasn't I part of that journey? It was very odd.
how referring to the journey from going in, having the interest into reggae bands and mainstream music, let's say. How did that transition to go into Bhangra happen then?
Yeah, so that's good, man. That happened mainly because as I was getting older and older, I think especially when I went to college and stuff, the amount of Bhangra music coming out, it was just we used to got daytimers and stuff and everything. So the whole environment I was in was changing, and I was really enjoying that type of music. But I remember when I did some of my first demos, though, they were just they weren't Bhangra. Bhangra came after, and I actually haven't done that many Bhangra songs. If you look back and look at my catalog of stuff, yeah, probably the odd one or two Bhangra songs that I've done for me have worked. So on my first album, there was, and I hope I don't get this wrong now, yeah. So if there's 6 songs, 3 of them are Bhangra songs, but 3 of them weren't Bhangra songs. So it's like 50-50 split. But then if you go to Underestimated, there's again
2004.
2004, there's probably less Bhangra, right? And then when you got silent tears, there was no Bhangra.
But that was more kind of slower songs, though, in
Yeah.
in that way. So it wasn't necessarily in that song. So what we're saying is 50-50, a little bit different, and then totally away from it by the end of it.
Yeah, totally away from it. Look, if I have to, I did Desi Lalkara, Ping Charondi da, Dil Bangadi, you look at songs like that, those are some of the Bhangra songs that I've done. And, when I do them, it's great. What probably is a bit for me at the moment, when you make a Bhangra song, it's almost sometimes a bit too easy to do. It's not challenging enough. The other ones, they're a bit more intricate, and I really enjoy doing that, and I connect with it. So that's why I kind of do probably more of those.
I'm going to ask you a question here now in terms of sound, because there was your, let's say, your mainstream songs, your ballad kind of songs. They're fairly unique. Like,
Yeah,
you used to use heavy metal guitars in a lot of in some pieces, which was always kind of stands out. It wasn't. I think yourself, Mukhtar Sahol, it was always the other one that I used to remember around having like heavy metal guitars and stuff.
yeah.
But like in terms of your other sound, it was like you knew where it was me. It's planet, so you just knew kind of like it just had that sound around it, around the Midland sound. Was there particular kind of influences that you were taking at the time? Because I know obviously during that period you've learned through the B21, the Ballyjag Pals, you've got all the other the Zeus's phases coming in. What was your kind of influences?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, Bally, Jesse B21, kind of, I was with them a lot during that time. I'd sit in the studio with them as well, see how they do stuff. And that was a really big influence for me. Spent a lot of my time with that. So I would say probably, yeah, that they were my biggest plus. Where I was working, um, the engineers also had it. So the thing was, back in the day, it's very, very different now. Like now you can get everything on your laptop. Laptops weren't that great back in the day, 22 odd years ago. The machines that you had in studios are very expensive. You couldn't get software at home and just do it at home all the time and stuff like that. So you'd go in, and a lot of studio people actually didn't let you touch their equipment. They're like, we're the engineer. You tell us what to do and we'll do it. Because if you do it and something goes wrong, then that's my bread and butter kind of thing. So I would sit there and watch them and stuff like that. And I'll put my hands up. I'd go in sometimes and play. So I'd say, listen, hear this. This is what I'm trying to get. Yeah. So when you mix it, this is it. So when I started, I wasn't mixing. The engineers were mixing, whether it be Tom or Jim, Suki. They'd do it. I didn't do any of it. I would tell them what I want more, but that's about it. But then what they started doing was they started taking me under their wing and saying, that's all right, you know what, you can do a bit more, you can do a bit more. And that's how I ended up learning. It's when they show you and teach you along the way.
It's been a common theme that I've kind of learned on this journey when speaking to particularly producers, and some of the feedback that I get back from listeners was around the difference between there was ghost producers and things that have been done, but the difference in terms of like how important a sound engineer is, and they don't get enough credit, especially the ones who you've just mentioned, and how the influence of their kind of style has always been reflected on music. How did you get that balance right, and in terms of relationship, in terms of you as a producer, you've got a unique sound and an image in your head, and conveying it to the engineer? Did the engineer always win in the end, or was it like how did you kind of get through those difficult?
I think it's just, once those relationships were built, it was just understanding it. I think if you understand music and the technology on how it works, then you kind of do it. And a lot of the time now, it got to a point where I was going in studio, and I still do. And I got my own studio, but I actually work in other studios as well. I'll go in and I'm teaching the engineer something that he doesn't do, because he's not doing it on a daily basis, or I might be using a different platform, or I've used something in a different way. But at the same time, other producers also there became an era where we were all sharing ideas, and we would all get together, and we would be in it. So the one thing I really miss now is the collaborations that used to happen. So if I was in studio, another 3 4 people would come in, I'd be working on something, and then someone would say, you know what, someone, why don't you try this? Like, you know what, that's not a bad idea. Let's try it. And those would come out. And I always said that making music it's a joint effort. Everybody participates. Whether you're the singer, you're the writer, composer, you've come and played Dumbi, all of those elements, everybody's contributed to it.
You're in your early 20s when your first album comes out. You're thrusted into kind of some sort of limelight in terms of like gigs and everything from there. What kind of your memories that kind of stick out for you when you look back and reflect on those times?
So one thing I never did is I never really, I'm not a DJ, and no disrespect to DJs, but I can't DJ. I rate DJs because I think the way that they do it is really great. So I wasn't actually performing much. I never used to get booked. I never, people used to say, Simon, what are you doing? You should be, going to shows, playing your songs. I go, that's not what I'm about. I'm an engineer. So I would go touring with bands and engineer for them and do those kind of things. And that side of things I absolutely loved, because once again, I wasn't at the front of the show. I was actually, all those people on the stage, I'm on the opposite side. No one gets to see me. I'm doing everything. It's great, and I absolutely enjoyed it. I've traveled the world, yeah, on the back of some great artists, with them doing that. And I absolutely respect them for taking me along and giving me that opportunity to do that, because myself, I would never have got that chance. But going away, experiencing that life was absolutely great. But like I said, it got to one point where I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. It got too much.
What do you mean? So like, give us an example of where you had like a unique experience where you were like, I can't believe I'm here, and who you with, and then what then led up to the bit where I couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah, so I think I was on tour. I think it was in Canada or the States, and it was my close cousin's wedding, and I missed everything, with that wedding, and I really wanted to be there. But I had a commitment to the band, and at that point, I was pretty much doing music a lot of the time, so I was still working, but I would go away. I've committed to it. I've got to go. Other people can't do it because, again, like you say, once you're working with a band, the way I'm doing their sound is in a unique way, and that's what they want delivered. So to get somebody else in to do it is quite difficult. Um, and you know, there was a lot of occasions when that was happening, and I felt that, what, I'm missing that side of my family life, and I don't like it. And I'm very close to, my immediate family, but my wider family as well. And it was something that I just didn't, I've gone out, I've done it, but now it's almost like back to reality. I want to be part with that family. I want to spend time with them.
But you didn't like. I just want to just drill back on a bit in terms of trying to demonstrate and kind of reiterate to the audience, especially and for us, like a high time. What did it look like, that scene? Because I think it's very difficult. Like you said, like the technology, that argument is there. Like, the laptops and all these things weren't available. But what else isn't available not now was that camaraderie, that collaboration in terms of what you said was, that you mentioned in studio. But what was that like on the road when you're looking back and you particularly saw a point where I thought, bloody hell, this is I'm doing well.
Yeah, it was around between 2004, probably 2007 was probably I would say that was my peak, around that, after underestimated into silent tears. I literally was on a flight to India, and I was being in India all the time. I would get the label would do me first class seats, yeah, hotels paid for, right? Food's all paid for. You're mingling with the big crowds. You're getting the networking, the connections. That's the amount of work and collaboration that I did during that time. Yeah, was a lot. I've done a lot of albums for other people. UK artists might not have heard it, but in India they came out, and those artists are still going strong today. And it was surreal at one point because I was going around and people knew who I was, and I was like, I don't understand. How do you know who I am and stuff? Especially at that time, there wasn't this whole social media type of stuff, and we would have to do all that as well and doing all the radio interviews, and it was actually really really good. I absolutely enjoyed it, and I made so many connections during that time with friends and everything. It was great. I remember shooting Dolly with Your video, and we were in Mumbai, and it was the second day of the shooting, and I was in this little trailer type thing. So I'd been in there. I'd been in there most of the day because I'd done my kind of scenes the day before. I'd been in there for a couple hours just chilling, and they go, right, Simon, your shot's gonna come up. I went, no problem. I opened the door and I looked out, and there was probably about 5,000 people standing there watching the shooting, and I couldn't believe it. And then this is in front of the big courthouse right at the end of the video, and there was someone, you need to go stand there. And I was standing there on my own, and all these people looking at me. It was surreal. And then I came down. They didn't know who I was, right? And they're like, "Can we have your autograph?" And I'm like, I could have signed anything,
Um,
but it, it
go
was
on.
it was it was great. It was absolutely great, and the everything that happened during that period of time, it was just like, um, there wasn't any problems. It was working. Everyone was committed. It was just all really good. It just really worked.
Um, just in terms of your own work and what you were doing, how would you kind of select the singers or the songs that you would want to work with? Would it be given to you by the label to say, we need you to do this, or did you kind of work your way around? Because you did one of your Sabarkoti track, Rukawangu is like one that you always kind of, I always remember that. But like to kind of work with an artist like that, you've got to have a bit of a road in order to get there, and especially a selection process that you probably find down to a form. How did you come around that?
So yeah, that's what it's changed. It changed the way it was to how it is now. So I'll
So
tell you
what
how
was
it
it
started.
before?
So what happened? So when I first started, and I said, you know what, I've decided I'm going to do an album, yeah, or I'm going to do some music. That's what ended up happening. And I was at college, and in college, in my class, there was a guy named Rashpal, right? And Rashpal, well, I'm gonna put his name out there. He's gonna hate me for this, right? But he's still singing today, and he dances with, I think they're called the Lions now, but it used to be a different name, yeah. So he sang that. So we used to study. We used to be in law class together, all right? So we were doing A level law, and he goes, "I want to sing." I go, "I want to make music, man. You know what? Let's do it. No problem, right?" Booked Planet Studios, went down. Right, what should we do? And at that time, I was talking with, I was speaking with Jesse, and Jesse goes to me. He goes, "Well, what you need to do a demo, don't you? And
Which
you
just
give the
just
demo."
just very much, just clarify with Justy, please.
Jesse said, "Do."
Yeah.
He goes, "Right, you need to do a demo. That's what you need to do." I went, "Okay." So at that time, I really liked Sabar Koti's "Being Janandi" that track, yeah. And I had gone to a wedding, and I had Avatar Safari sang the song at the wedding on stage as well, and I was like, I love this song, yeah. I'll do a demo to it, yeah. So we went in, and I started working on that song, and Rashpal did the guide vocals, and it says, all right, now we've got a kind of hip hoppy with a bit of total kind of song. Let's do a sad song, and he goes, let's do Sadeya. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And he sang it, and it was much faster than what it is what I ended up releasing it with. It was like a kind of what did we do it on? There was we didn't use the sample, but we recreated something. It was Maria Maria by Santana. That's what it was, and we did it on that groove. And I did those demos, and I go, let me go and speak to the label. So I went to speak to the label, and at that time, again, I was gigging with Jussie at the time, and Mac was his manager. And because I knew them, they were, why don't you come over to Moviebox and let's see what we can do. So I went in and I go, these are the kind of songs I've done, and they go, we love these demos, they're great. Yeah, the music's great. That's fine. Let's we can do something. They had a library of vocals, right? And they go, why don't you sit here for the day and pick whatever vocals you want?
What
Like
kind of access in terms of what vocals did they have? Because for me,
they had boxes and boxes and shelves of CDs. You literally had to pick the CD, read what's on it, you could listen to it, and it was just raw vocals. Yeah. And at that point, I picked Monarch song. Yeah, Chetika Savan Puttar. It
so
was
did they
there.
have? I'm just trying to see this, especially like young producers now, where it's very hard to get a vocalist. Um, was it alphabetically ordered, or what was it? Just like, or was it like one CD could have one Monica and another one randomly could have it as well?
It was, I think it was random, and we're saying CDs, yeah, but there were also things like ADAT machines. Yeah, so an ADAT's a really big tape that they used to record onto, and then you used to have a DAT, which is a really small tape. So that every type of different thing they could have it on, they had it on, and it was in boxes. And don't think some of these, most of these were neat, but some were just thrown in and stuff. So um that was one. So that was how I got that vocal. Yeah. The other one vocalist. So then Meshi Shara was, he knew the label. So they said, look, we can get you a singer, and you can use that. And actually Lembher and Rakesh was, I had gone to the new Moviebox studio, which used to be on Albion Street in Jewelry Quarter. And there, Suki Chand was working there. He had just started a week before, and the guy Dexter had built the studio. He was working there. And Suki goes, oh, I know some singers that are here. There's a guy called Lembher and a guy called Master Rakesh. And actually, Master Rakesh has learnt from Sudur. And we're like, okay. I hadn't heard these guys, right? I've never heard Rakesh's voice, didn't know who he was. He goes, I'll grab him and bring him to the studio tomorrow. Like, no problem. Brought him to the studio, and he just sitting there. He knew the song because obviously his guru song. Went in, smashed it out in 40 minutes. I couldn't believe it. I was like, that's brilliant. And same with Lembher. Lembher came in, and I knew who Lembher was, and I said the one song that I want someone like Safri. Can we get Safri, please? Yeah. And then we can't get Safri. Safri signed to another record label. You can't get him. And there was that guy who sang the song on Mukhtar Sahota's album. Um, Tu Sari Min Soni Lagdi. Yeah. I go, he sounds like Limber, and that's just he goes, oh, I know him. He's here. He's in Smedic or something. I'll get him. And that was it. It was just sheer luck and connections to get those vocalists. And although I wanted to say I want these kind of vocalists, but I didn't have I've got to have this person right now. So he never started like that.
How did you learn rag then, in terms of the scales, in order to kind of like have some of these singers in there?
Yeah, well, they came in and we go, look, where are you comfortable singing from? So what we
Oh,
did
right.
was,
Okay, so they were kind of more singer led in terms of what they wanted to do.
yeah, so all my production was pre-production, because don't forget, when I did my demos, I didn't go and get dumbies played and all this. It was all keyboard work. It was all done, and drums. So when they came in, it was like, oh, if you need it higher or lower or slower, we can do that. And that's what we did. We fitted it around them, and then we built the song.
I just want to go back to that, Charles, with all those vocals in there. How did you make sure that the vocal that you picked, nobody else has picked at the same time?
I didn't. I didn't even think about it. I still didn't think about it till you just said it. I just didn't think about it. I even when Was I doing underestimated? I think it's on underestimated. This is how I'm struggling now. I did what was no, it wasn't under no, it was underestimated. When I
Perfectly.
did no, when I did the song Munda Badwala,
Okay.
yeah, right, that was Lob Janjua, and I wanted to redo that. So that's a cover version song, and I wanted to do that. And I just happened to be having a meeting with Cameron at Moviebox, and I go, "Oh, I want to do that song." He goes, "I've got that vocal." I'm like, "Have you?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "I'll give it to you." I went in the other room and got it for me. He knew exactly where it was. He knew he had it, and just gave it and said, "There you go." Literally, it
Imagine,
was that easy.
imagine the gold dust that's left in those shelves there still.
They've got an absolutely massive catalog, and I don't think they've ever stopped anybody from doing it. I've never known them to say no. If we've got something, then you can do it. And a lot of their support got me to where I am today. you know um I was probably, if I remember back then, I was probably the youngest person to sign with them ever at that time, and I was 20
And
years old.
how long was your deal? Was it 4 albums or five?
I believe I had a 5 album deal. I think I didn't do 5 albums with them though, because the industry kind of changed at that point, and they were like, "Yeah, you can do
I want
what
to,
you need to do."
I want to get that because it affects them at the same time. So you said you're 2004, 2007. The piracy movement starts to come in a little bit more and starts dominating and starts taking hemorrhaging creativity in one way, hemorrhaging record labels, hemorrhaging releases in and the album sort of dipped because there was just no kind of value in them at that point. Was
Yeah.
that a contributing factor in terms of how you again access the singer that you wanted? Did it change your way of how you were working, and or did it knock you off your pathway?
No, I think piracy then was expected. Yeah, and I don't think it had. For me, it didn't play a factor in anything, to be honest with you. Um, and where the kind of piracy thing came in was the downloads, right? That was the era where we got hit hard, because physical things were not selling. Now everyone wanted to download on your Napsters or
Limewire.
LimeWire, whatever it is, yeah, and do it, and your song would be up there the same day it's come out, right? And it was just the thing was piracy. If you're gonna go, and you used to get pirates at market stalls and things like that. Yeah, people did that, but actually, people still went and bought the tape, the CD, the genuine one. They still had that want to do that. A lot of people, but once the downloads came and it was I can make my own compilation CD and stuff like this, it all changed, and that's when a lot of people got hit, and that's when the labels got hit as well.
Yeah, because a lot of the labels were selling the pirate ones themselves as well. Like under there was, I
Under the
remember a
shelf,
lot of cases. Yeah, what? Say that again.
under the counter.
Yeah. They used to say, "Oh, there's a £15 version, £10, or you can have this fiver version, which is a copied CD." I remember walking on Soul Road with some of those labels there, and they did that. I never bought that version. I just found it kind of counterproductive. I used to download, but I was more collection then at that point. I used to have like a lot of CDs, but I don't know. I
The,
found it
the,
really. But you would have been hit more because okay, if you're somebody like Jazzy B or you're somebody Malgeet or anyone, if their song's getting kind of down, it's still getting played somewhere, and you're going to get a gig. But if you're not the gigging kind of person, you're not going to even get that as well, are you?
yeah, so that's what I mean. For me, it didn't have an impact. So most my stuff was about showcasing what I can do, and what it did was bring in more work into the studio for me, so more production work, more collaborations, open more doors to more singers that I wanted to work with, and that's what it was about. So if we go back to, like, that's how my first album happened, yeah. After that, things started to change. Then it was a case of I I knew when I was doing a song, I would always, this is the song I want to do. It's very rare I got given a song and I'd be like, I got to do music to it. I don't really work like that. I will, this is the music I want to do. This is the kind of song I want. This is the theme I want. And this is the type of singer I want. And normally, if I want a type of singer, I'll go and get them, and I'll make sure I built the song around them. And interestingly, so when I did being Jarandida, I actually my first call was to Sabarkoti to say I want to do this song, and he was so nice. He goes, I can't do it. Yeah, even though we'd got the rights to cover the song, within a certain period of time in India, the same singer can't do the same song again. So his hands were tied.
I
There
did
was
not
a
know
there was really old rule. Like, I think I can't remember, it was 3 or 5 years. Okay, and then what artists, what producers and labels used to do was make singers sign a separate contract to say they will never do it again, to stop them from doing it again after so many years. But Sabar hadn't done that. But Sabar goes, I can't do Pink Jarandida at that time because of this law in India. And I got the rights to the whole album. Yeah. So I want to do Rukawango. And so I waited all that time so he would do Rukawango again. And he never once turned around to me and said, "Oh, Simon, you covered my song but got Lembher to do it," or anything like that. There was no animosity about it. Same with Sadur. So Sadur did me a vocal on my last album, The Awakening. So he did that. Never turned around. Oh, you did my Sadeya Paran Suki, or no, this and that. Never. He goes, that song. He goes, your versions almost, he goes, probably bigger than mine. He goes, probably, that's what he said to me.
You know, I just want to get a kind of an idea in terms of the competition and the politics within the industry at that time.
Yeah.
What do you remember of that?
So what the politics weren't producers at the time, it was labels. So everybody who was on Moviebox, yeah, were like, we're a team. But then everybody who's on Envy is a separate team. That's how it felt. It
Was
probably
it
wasn't like that.
Moviebox versus Envy?
Kind of, yeah. You would get that. I think in between there probably was a bit of rivalries in that, but there was also friendships in between as well with different labels and stuff like that. So, but that is the feeling it used to be, label against label. I think at that time, you'll probably correct me, I'm sure Malkit and Safri were on OSA, and then you
Yeah,
had
Malkit's
Desi.
always been. I'm going to say there's going to be the purist, and I've got to be very careful. But as long as I remember, for as long as I remember, like Malkit and OSA have always been together. I'm sure he's done different parts everywhere. I'm sure he's done something, which will kind of be an anomaly. I think Sufri bounced around a little bit in terms of where there was Roma. I think he did do bits with Envy. I think he did a couple of tracks with Sanj, I believe. And then
Yeah.
he might have done stuff with High Tech. I'm not, but that would make sense if the back catalogue got sort of bought out by those
That
guys.
catalogs did get bought out and moved and stuff. All that used to
Yeah, so
happen. But
I think he's Bill Sadara is a bit similar kind of pathway with Sufri. I kind of pair together. I'm no
yeah,
historian. I'm just more kind of from a memory and fan point of view. You've got like Dips Bhamra. He's like amazing when you ask him about kind of history, and Polytanka, kind of like my go-to people in terms of making sure everything is correct.
yeah. But yeah, I think people were in different places, but then there was always that little. I think, when we say rivalry, I think it wasn't rivalry. It was healthy competition. That's what it
Oh,
is. It
but
gives you,
you've
it
been
gives
so
right.
polite. Yeah,
But you know what? Listen, I've heard stories that things that happened previously, but I've never seen it or anything. Yeah, but you know what? I've been. I'll tell you one story. I'll tell you one. I'm not going to mention any names. Yeah, but a band was coming off stage at a gig. I was packing up. Yeah, and the other band came on. He goes, "Oh, hurry up and pack up, man. Let a real band come on." Right. And that was because there was a rivalry between live bands and PA bands, right? and it was there was no need for it. Yeah, but that's what it was. So that was also an era of rivalry where people who were doing PAs, so going on, got the backtrack on, yeah, and live band people didn't like it. They felt disrespected. Now everybody works together. It doesn't matter which one you do,
Now anybody
right?
who takes any booking, they just have happy there's a booking.
Absolutely. And look, there's no sort of, people get uptight about it. It's like there's no law here that says you've got to do it like this. If you look at mainstream been doing PAs for years, so it's a form of entertainment. Um, people used to say to me, um, Simon, I've heard people say, "Oh, Simon's picked this song up. It's not even his song. It's an old song." Well, yeah, it's a cover version. I've done covered it, but look, who hasn't covered songs? Mainstream cover songs. Back in the day, a lot of who we call legends and everybody now, they've all covered songs. There's nothing wrong with it. But if someone's going to pick on something, then they will pick on it and just kind of go at it. So there's always these little things that are always going on, and it's not necessary.
When did you, even between your own albums, there was a short of gaps to start off with, and then there was kind of the gaps got bigger and bigger and bigger. Why was that happening?
So um what had happened was, after the first couple of albums, which I think were about 2 years apart each one, I think 2002, 4, and then 6, and then what happened was I got so much work in from other artists for whole albums. I just started doing those, and in hindsight, that was probably, I shouldn't have done that.
Was
I
that
should have
Ghost
done it with
production
my.
as well?
I have done ghost production. It's not, yeah. You know what? I don't want to say ghost production. I know people say ghost production, right? Right.
I don't
Look,
think it's a bad thing.
it's
When people,
it's not
like,
bad.
it's like a boogie word, but they say, "Oh, you did Ghost production," it's like, and no one gives a shit.
Look, this is the way I see it, and it happens today as well, right? I will have artists, upcoming music producers, composers, whatever you want to call them. Yeah, they'll come in and they'll be like, okay, um, they're gonna do a song. So maybe the guy wants to be produced. Maybe he's made the beat and goes, right, I've made this beat. Here's the song, but I don't know how to do anything else. Can you put the keys down for me? Can you do the bass for me? Can you mix it for me? That's fine. Tomorrow, if someone says to him, right, can you play this? No. All right, well, that's being ghost produced. Well, it's not being ghost produced. He's here. I'm the engineer. And if I can help you, I will help you. But at the same time, they're learning along the way. They're watching me. They're doing it. They're having their own initiative to do it. So, ghost production, when I see ghost production in its truest form, is if someone sends me a song and says, Simon, here's X amount of money, produce this song, send it back to me, and I'm going to put my own name on it, and I never see them. That's ghost production. That I've never done. No one will send me. So they'll be here. There'll be something going
Yeah.
on.
So the more the collaboration kind of thing.
Yeah, it's collaboration. Yeah, absolutely.
So then, yeah. So the gaps were getting bigger and bigger. You were saying.
Yeah, so I started doing albums for people, and I started touring a lot, and then I did get it finished. There was a bit of, there was two hiccups that came along with it. One, I was trying to get international record deals. So we're trying to say, right, so what would happen before, because we didn't have this great social media platform that we got now. If I release a product here, for me to get that CDs printed in India and marketed, I need someone out there who I can license the product to, and do it. And a lot of those relationships weren't always great between the record labels. So one is, once the product was ready, it's going out there, putting the graft in, trying to negotiate something that both of them will do. And then what happened was, there was some major errors with the video, and we shot some videos, and the footage got wiped and lost, and all that money had gone down the drain. Then there wasn't any more money to invest into it, so I had to wait X amount of time, and then next thing you know, you'll start losing the momentum. So actually, so if I look at Perfectly Imperfect, right, came out in 2012, 12. Yeah. Me and Taz, Stereo Nation, shot our video in August 2008. And I got that video back from Azim Parker in 2012 because he lost the footage and it was shot on Super 16. And by the time somehow they managed to retrieve some footage off a drive, but it was very small, it was low res, so we ended up with an SD file. And it was just like, it didn't make sense. And by that time, so many years had passed. And it was just like, I got to get this done, got to get this done. So I went through almost like a bad period of nothing was going right. And then the videos weren't looking right and things like that. And this is off the back of, I was being really particular because I go, I've just done videos like Don't Leave It to Here, which was a £20,000 video. That was, I can't go from a £20,000 video to a £5,000 video because the expectation's higher. It's not that I'm more arrogant and say that's the level you got to deliver at. It's you've got to do
That's the
something at
bar
least
now. That's the new bar that you've got to hit every.
and that was it. And because of all the kind of not social media, but all the other like LimeWire and things like that, and people making less money, they weren't prepared to invest that much. If someone genuinely does a £20,000 video now, yeah, they're a superstar and they've got that money and income to back it. But if you're starting out or doing something, then there's no point. And because the shelf life of a song is so small now, I would never say to someone, go and spend that sort of money.
I've had this conversation, especially I've got I've spoke to Beyond, there's a new singer, rapper. I've spoke to a couple of guys from Canada, and the theme around it is kind of resources in terms of like how finite resources have become within the industry. And if you're not now a singer, a producer, a person that can do their own graphics, the person that can do their own social media, all the artwork and stuff, you're spending absolutely shed loads of money on your own product within there, which probably only have a shelf life of about an hour if it's crap. And I think, when we were talking about how things are getting sort of filtered out, I think people are getting priced out of this game at the moment because yes, it's easier than ever to kind of release music. And talent is always talent. They always come through to a point. But if you ain't got nobody investing in you, you're struggling. You really are struggling with resource.
You've got to invest in yourself now. That's what it is. You are your primary person. But I think, look, everybody at any point when they're doing, whether it's music or anything else, if I strongly believe if you put your 100% into it and graft, and that's what you want to do, yeah, right, you'll be successful, right? It depends what you're looking for from it. If people are looking for fame and money, yeah, right, I'd say don't bother doing it because when you're looking for that, you know what, you're not gonna find it. What you need to be doing is putting the graft in. But everywhere's got its pros and cons. So if I go back to my first album, so the day my first album came out, I had to drive to London to do radio shows there, and then come back to Birmingham to do the radio shows in the night. And then for the next 4 to 8 weeks, go up and down the country to do radio shows. They didn't really do them on the phone in 2002. You needed to go in person. Then you just to Scotland. Then what you do is, after you've done your 2 months, 3 months promotion in the UK, you got to get on a plane and either go to Canada or India. And at that time, the albums used to come out at different times. So an album can come out here in January and then be like, right, but we're releasing in India in April. I'm going to go India for 3 months. And then I'm going to promote it there. And I'm going to travel around and do it. You don't have that problem now. So that's like a bonus for them, right? Is because you can now put your song out there and within 10 minutes, it's global.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal. You look at the graph that look at the likes of your Apache Indians, right? And your Jazzy Bees and that, how they got to where they've got without this social media platform. That's the journeys they took. They would be on the road for months and months at a time doing that and promoting and then doing the shows and doing everything. Yeah. And it was all about the love of it, and the longevity of that product was there. It was you keep regurgitating it, keep doing it. Now it's you put it out, but that's great. So I have now just put my product out, and you know what I love about it? I went into YouTube, I go into Spotify for artists. You got 100 people are listening to your album right now. This is how many streams you've had in the last 7 days. This is what you've got. Analytics are brilliant. I'm like, wow, that feeling that, oh, this is happening right now and someone's listening to it. I never got that. I never used to know who used to listen to my song unless I was walking past the car. I'd be like, "Oh, you playing my song?" That was it. That is the change now. So there's a positive on that, and then there's also the negative. But to put it out now as well, the cost is minimal. When back before, I mean, I say it's minimal. Believe it or not, back in the day to produce the CD, like as in print it, the cover, the box, seal it up, done, 99p.
Wow.
Then the label would sell it probably for about 4 or 5 quid to the record shop. The record shop would then sell it for 9.99.
Yeah.
Got the markups there. But now it's just accessible within seconds
Yeah.
for your
And people don't even want to
99p.
pay 99p.
Well, it's just stream it now,
Yeah,
isn't
they're
it? And
streaming. Yeah.
on a stream, after it's streamed for what is it, 20 seconds or something, you get on Spotify 0.004 pence. That's the money that comes back into someone's pocket. So when I read things where people are knocking people down and their song and stuff, and I know it's part of the game, but that person's put their hard effort, meant time into that. They like it, and you're just knocking them down. What's that going to give you? It's not going to give you anything. And that is the probably one thing that hasn't changed over the last 2 decades. Knock someone down. It's just it's not worth it, and I don't know why people do it. But it's in every sort of industry where you are, you're out there, whether you're an actor, whether you're a singer, producer. It's just not happening. And the other thing that's really odd right now, I had someone approach me at a wedding and goes, and I hate this. Oh, you're Simon. I grew up listening to you. It makes me feel really old, first of all, right? Yeah. Right? But they say that, and so the next thing was, I've done a song, went great. I want to do some more music. I'd love to come and collaborate with you, right? I went, okay, no problem. He goes, here's my Insta, like link me on it. Yeah, I went, no worries. Right? He showed me his Insta, right, and he had something like 1.8 million followers. You've released one song. Your song got 500,000 views, but you've got 1.8 million followers. Why are people following you? Because surely it can't be because of your music. So what have you got that following for? I don't understand. You want people to follow you for your music, I would say, right? If they're following you for anything else, your music's not going to be successful.
They might be showing their arse off. You don't know. It's either tits and arse on Instagram anyway.
So I don't know, man. But it's one of those. But you know what? It to me, there are things that even I struggle to get my head around. But I'm sure I'm probably wrong, and there is a reason behind it. And if it works for them, it works for them. But that's one thing that doesn't work for me. So this is where I will never have people say, you're trying to come back. I'm not trying to come back. No, I do not want to come back. That's not what this is about.
So everything that you said, in terms of why everything slowed down, was that the reason from when we first started the conversation of why you kind of took a break?
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah, we digressed a lot, didn't we? So yeah, so I think what I took a lot of work on, and then I got to a point. I think after Perfectly Imperfect came out, because of that massive delay, the response on that album was not great compared to my other albums. It still did really well for me. Rukawango, like you said, it's still banging today. And it was great in that sense. And then it was almost like, you know what, I actually need to tone this down a bit now. I just want to do other things. and that's what I started doing, and I started focusing more on my kind of family, my 9 to 5, doing that, grafting around that, and I really got into it. I think at one point I didn't go into studio for like a year or 18 months. I think it was quite a while that I stepped back, and then but it's like one of those things. Once you step back in a little bit, you can't get back out.
What drove you to go back then?
So at that point, so what had happened after that, so I had an album done with Moviebox. I said, look, I don't really want to do anything anymore. Yeah, let's call it a day. And that's why I didn't produce my last album with Moviebox. I was like, that's done. They were happy. There was never an issue. Simon, it's fine, not a problem. You can do that. And then I don't know what happened, because I stopped. Even today, I don't go on the road. I don't engineer for people. I don't tour. I actually stopped hanging around with a lot of music people for a couple of years, and I just didn't see them. My whole crowd changed, and it was just all about family, friends, and stuff, close friends from when I was in school and stuff. And then I don't know what happened. I think it was just a case of I was hearing some stuff, and I got irritated one day, and I was just like, you know what? How can music be like this now? Let's let's bring it back. Let's go back in and let's see what we can do. And I did a whole refurb at my place. I got new stuff, updated my machines. The software had been updated, and there was loads of real good things on there, made things a lot easier. And I just kind of got into it, and it just kind of like within a couple of sessions, I was just really back into it, and I was just really enjoyed doing it again. It was almost just like I needed to hit the reset button. I needed just a timeout.
I've seen that even with GV's just come back with the track with the Gary Sandu and then Jim Dillon, and it's doing crazy numbers. And even with him, in terms of his sounds evolved, like yours, like is that something conscious that you want to move on with the sound, or you want to still kind of bring your kind of nostalgic sound?
So I think there's something about my stuff that will always have that kind of signature in it. I think you picked it out quite rightly. A lot of my stuff is built around guitars, yeah, and that's my key sound. 99% of the time, my song will start with guitars, and there'll be some sort of guitar in there and doing something. And a lot of my stuff is all about it's about the drums. I keep my drums really loud and stuff. Um, this recent one, the Bad Company EP I did. So these were songs that I had for many years, and I just didn't put them out. And I actually had this done pre-COVID, and I was due to go on a video shoot, and typical thing, COVID happened, so it never happened. So this sat there for
I remember that
3-4
conversation. I remember
yeah.
that.
So I was like, and I think it was you. You were saying to, and I was thinking, oh, I'm not going to do it now. But you were like, no, just put it out there. You might as well. You might as well.
You know something?
And then,
I want you to give. Hang on. This is my only ego boost. I said I spoke to GV about this, about his stuff, and then he spoke to me privately, and I won't discuss the details, but he goes he will let everyone know. But I had something to do with that, his track, and I had something to do with trying to keep prodding you in terms of, come on, just get all this stuff out. Because if you think about how we just thought about Moviebox with all those stuff there, right? The gold that you might have on your hard drive of legends who've gone, or still when you record them at their peak, they will go with you. We as a consumer might not ever hear that, and I think you've got a duty. And I keep putting pressure on everyone that you need to release this stuff, because we've got a very limited time frame when you hear in modern music where there's no Bhangra, there's no folk instruments, it's all Western. There's still a market for the nostalgic market, no matter how small it is or whatever, it's still there.
Yeah. I have got a couple more songs on my drive that I've never done. I went and did them. Some of them I can't do because the singer will be like, I don't want to do it anymore. And some of them the singer's gone, but they're there. But you're saying that, so I'll mention him. Infamous Suck. He's got like 40 vocals, like just sitting there, and we'd gone out a while back. Loads of big stars and some newcomers. and he's got them. And I was being told this when we went out, and he was there, and they were like, if they were saying, if you don't do them, we're going to take them off you and stuff like that. And I was like, well, just put them out there, and he should do it. But I'll tell you, I've done this, yeah. So we had the convo, right? Okay, you know what? Let's do it. And it was all about getting the video done. I had so many challenges on this one because I actually sent money to Master Rakesh to do his sync. Yeah. One thing I've always done in all my stuff is I've always tried to put the singer in the video. So if you look at the last ones that I did with Rakesh, I got his sync done on green screen and I put him in. Yeah. This time I sent him the money, but this was last year. He had a heart attack. Yeah. He actually he had two heart attacks, one right after the other one about a week later. And because of that, he rang me and goes, I need to pay the medical bills. So he used that money to pay the medical bills. And I said, right, well, I'm going to Italy to shoot this video. I will buy you a ticket, but you need to come. And he goes to me, he goes, look, I'm not, he goes, I can't get out of the country. I can't do it. You go and do it. He goes, and I went, fine. Yeah. I did not want to do it. I was gone beyond that. I was like, I'm not going to do it. So this was the last time I think I've done it, right? And but that was it for that. But every time I try and get the people in, but I've done that now, and now I've done it. It's the same thing. I've got a taste for it, so I can tell you now there are another 6 songs coming out over the next couple of months because I spoke to Moviebox, and Moviebox go, right, it's been 21 years since you did your first album. There's a lot of people now that haven't heard it. Should we reproduce them? I went, you know what? Let's do it. I picked up Being Charandida out the archives, completely revamped it, ready to come out next month. Completely revamped Ganu Marda, redone Dolly with Chuhir, redone Bar Lagade, all redone, all coming out. And then because I've been doing stuff, I've had 2-3 other people who I've done music for that were just kind of being lazy. And on Saturday, I was at a video shoot, just sitting there because they're shooting their videos. They go, right, they're releasing. So that stuff's coming out as well. It's just almost like put a knock on to other people to say, you know what? Damn, we're on a buzz because you're on a buzz. So let's just all do it. And I don't know what's happened in the last month, yeah, but I absolutely love it, yeah, because I dropped, yeah, then GV dropped, PBN's dropped, Just C's dropped. I'm like, you know what? Yes, this is what I'm talking about now. And I don't know how we've all just clustered it together. The timing's absolutely terrible for us, but nobody's songs sound the same. Like they're all completely different, which is great. That just shows you the versatility of everyone, man. It's brilliant.
I think it's the kind of subconsciousness, the subconscious, I suppose, or the consciousness of the UK Bhangra scene, of where I think at some points I think people conceded the title of Punjabi folk UK Bhangra to Canada and said, right, yeah, you guys won, you carry on. But I think now inadvertently, as everyone's got a little bit older and grey, they've got a little bit more time on their hands and dedicated that passion and hobby again. And I think it's kicked in. I think we're going to see a lot more of it coming out soon. And then once you flood the market with quality now, because you can't put out crap because of the resources, you should start seeing sort of high-end UK products within there. I think the only sad thing is that we still need a fresh youth in terms of competition coming in, like UK singers. We need a lot more of UK singers as well. I want to kind of bring it to, you've already kind of mentioned what the future bits are, but I just on here I have a bandwagon section where is there a bandwagon that you want to jump on, jump off, or anything that you want to get on your off your chest? This is your space to do so. Is there anything that you want to discuss there?
I don't know what you give it. You're giving me a bit to just like go mental at somebody.
Yeah, or anything, whatever's kind of like your space.
No, I think it's like you said. There's lots of things coming out. What I'm seeing in the market. What I really like what's there. I'll be honest. I don't listen to a lot of current stuff, which is really bad. I miss the whole vibe, and I think that's bad. But one thing I will say is, it's kind of like it gets irritating for me sometimes. People say UK Bhangra is dead, yeah, and we're not doing it and stuff like that. Um, UK Bhangra artist, Punjabi, however you want to do it, Bhangra is not dead. It's just evolved. It's just changed, yeah. And what people just need to do is just go with the flow. Things are never going to stay the same, yeah. And people just need to appreciate that, and probably stop bitching so much. I would say, and actually, you know what? Let's just be a bit more supportive. If I rewind to when I started, yeah. I tell you what really damaged. I wouldn't say damaged my career, but it took over was the garage sound and RDB and your Surrender Rattans. Yeah, that era came in. Yeah, and you know what? At that time, I can recall people absolutely hating it. The traditional people that were in the industry, like, what kind of music is this? They're ruining it. It's not true Bhangra. Blah 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 blah. Today, they're known as classics. People still blast Aja Mahi. Yeah, brilliant songs, and it's exactly the same now. All these new people coming in, yeah, they got real good talent. They're dropping some good stuff. I just appreciate it. I think, you know what? I think it's really good, and it's showing the creativity of individuals, and we should really just, you know what, give them a bit of recognition for it.
Simon, I want to thank you for joining me on here, and it's been well worth it. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I know we kind of have our daily chats anyway around this. But what I will say is that when those new tracks come out back on, we're doing another kind of bits in terms of what you learn and your experiences. But I really appreciate you taking the time for me today.
No worries, man. Thanks for having me, man. This is the only interview that I've done, by the way. Yeah, I don't do interviews anymore, and this is it. I know you're saying come back. I don't know, man. I think this was it. Give it another 2 years.
It's gonna happen, man. It's gonna happen. Cheers, mate.
All right, take care.